The first time I heard it, I thought it was a trapped bird. A high, thin warble, choked and desperate, filtering through the floorboards of my new son's bedroom. Leo was only 7, a quiet boy who loved strange things. He'd press his ear against the humming refrigerator or record the screech of subway brakes on his old tape recorder. He called it his collection. But this sound was different. It wasn't mechanical or animal. It was vocal, a melody of pure anguish that seemed to resonate in the marrow of my bones. I found Leo crouched by the heat vent, his ear pressed to the grate, a serene smile on his face. "Listen, Dad," he whispered, not looking at me. "It's the sound of someone being forgotten." The warble came again. This time, it formed a word. My name. We moved to the old brownstone on Hemlock Avenue for the silence. After a decade in the city's relentless roar, the suburban quiet was a balm. My wife, Sarah, saw it as a fresh start, a place for our son Leo to blossom away from the chaos. Leo had always been drawn to acoustics. He didn't just hear noise, he dissected it. He'd identify the specific pitch of a dripping faucet or the harmonic resonance of wind whistling through a barely open window. It was a quirk, we thought. Charming. The house itself was a keeper of quiet, all thick walls and heavy doors. But silence is never truly empty. It's a cup waiting to be filled. And Leo, with his preternatural hearing and his growing collection of recorded sounds, was about to find what had been poured into the silence of that house long, long ago. The movers had just left, the truck rumbling away down the cobblestone street, leaving us in a fortress of stacked boxes and echoing rooms. Leo immediately vanished upstairs. That's when I heard it, the first recording. It was the groan of the house settling, a deep, woody creak from the very bones of the structure. But under Leo's microphone, it was amplified, distorted. It didn't sound like wood. It sounded like a long, weary sigh. I found him in the smallest bedroom, the one he'd claimed without hesitation, holding his bulky recorder up to the wall. "This is a good house, Dad," he said, his voice small in the empty room. "It has so many stories to tell." He played the recording back. The sigh was clearer now, and at the very end, buried in the static, was a faint, wet cough that most definitely wasn't part of the house's structure. Leo smiled. "She's shy." A week in, the recordings became more frequent. Leo would skip dinner, rushing upstairs to capture the specific sound of dusk settling through his west-facing window. Sarah was getting worried. "He's not making friends, Mark. He just sits in that room all day with those noises." I tried to reassure her. It was a phase. He was adjusting. But that night, investigating a thump from above, I found him not recording, but listening. He had giant, antique headphones on, his eyes closed in concentration. On his desk, the spools of the recorder were turning, playing a loop of static. But it wasn't static. As I leaned closer, the hiss resolved into a multitude of whispers, a chaotic symphony of overlapping voices, all talking at once. One voice, clearer than the others, broke through the cacophony. It was a child's voice, trembling with fear. "I can't find the way out. The walls are too close." Leo's eyes snapped open. He looked right through me. "They're not all stories," he murmured. "Some are just lost." The air in the house grew thick and cold. Arguments between me and Sarah, once rare, now sparked over nothing, a misplaced box, a burnt dinner. The tension felt alien, a fog that had seeped in under the doors. Leo became a ghost in his own home, pale and silent, trailing his fingers along the wallpaper as if reading Braille. His recorder was always on, capturing the hostile silence between Sarah and me, the frantic skittering that seemed to come from inside the walls at night, the faint, rhythmic tap-tap-tapping that started in the pipes and then, disturbingly, seemed to migrate to the inside of his closet door. I finally snapped, demanding to hear what he was so obsessed with. He wordlessly handed me the headphones. I heard my own voice, recorded from another room, arguing with Sarah. But under our voices, a new layer had been added, a low, guttural growl of pure satisfaction, a sound that didn't belong to any of us, but it was living with us all the same. Sarah couldn't take it anymore. She said the house was making her sick, that it was poisoning us. She packed a bag and went to her sister's house, pleading with me to bring Leo and follow. Leo refused to leave. "I can't," he whispered, his small hand gripping the doorframe of his room. "She's almost loud enough to understand." That's when I realized the recordings had stopped. He wasn't collecting new sounds. He was only listening to one, playing it over and over through his headphones. I snatched them from him. The sound that blasted out was the warble I'd first heard, but now it was a clear, desperate voice, a woman's voice, frayed with static and age. "Help me, please, he sealed me in. The dark, so dark." My blood ran cold. Leo looked at me, his eyes ancient. "She's in the walls, Dad. She's been trying to tell us where." Driven by a terror I couldn't name, I grabbed a crowbar from the garage. Leo guided me, his ear pressed to the hallway wall, listening for a frequency I couldn't hear. "Here," he said, tapping the floral-patterned wallpaper. "She's loudest here." I swung the crowbar, tearing into the plaster. Dust mushroomed into the air. I swung again and again, creating a ragged hole. The smell hit me first, the sweet, cloying stench of decay and old, dry things. Shining my phone's light into the cavity between the walls, the beam illuminated a tangle of wiring and ancient, dusty insulation. And something else. Tucked into a niche, wrapped in a disintegrating wool blanket, was a tiny, feminine tape recorder, its battery compartment rusted shut. Its tiny dead speaker was still, but from the darkness behind it, I heard a fresh, wet cough. Something shifted in the shadows. A long, pale finger, tipped with a broken nail, retreated from the light.
I stumbled back, choking on dust and dread. Leo didn't flinch. He reached into the hole, not for the ancient recorder, but toward the deeper darkness. "She's not in the machine, Dad," he said, his voice eerily calm. "The machine was just a cup. She poured herself into it, but the cup is full now." He pulled his hand back. Clutched in his small fist were strands of something fine and hair-like, but it glistened in the light like spider silk. The house let out a unified groan, a symphony of protesting wood and metal that built into a deafening roar. Every pipe shuddered. Every light bulb in the hallway exploded in a shower of glass. In the sudden, profound darkness, the woman's voice wasn't coming from speaker anymore. It was right beside my ear, her breath icy against my neck. "Thank you," she rasped, her voice now full of a terrible physical presence. "The boy has made me a new home. His ears are so much roomier." The darkness was absolute, a suffocating velvet shroud. Leo screamed, a short, sharp sound that was cut off with a wet, gurgling choke. I scrambled blindly toward him, my hands slapping against the wall, finding the jagged hole. "Leo!" I roared. Something brushed past my leg, something that felt like a bundle of wet sticks wrapped in gauze. A new sound filled the blackness, emanating from where my son had fallen silent. It was the whirring of a tape recorder spool turning, but monstrously amplified, a mechanical grinding that vibrated through the floorboards. Then Leo's voice spilled out, But it was wrong. It was a perfect digital recording of his scream, played back on a loop, spliced and edited with other sounds, the woman's weeping, my own panicked shouts, the skittering from the walls. It was a new recording, a new collection. A light flickered on. It was the power light from Leo's recorder, casting a sickly red glow. In its dim halo, I saw my son. He was standing perfectly straight, his head cocked at an unnatural angle. His eyes were open, but they were solid, glossy black orbs like twin pools of spilled ink. His mouth opened, but the sound that came out was a layered horror of every terrible noise this house had ever held. It was the symphony of the damned, and my beautiful boy was its conductor. I live in the house on Hemlock Avenue still. Sarah never came back. The official report says a tragic accident befell our son, and she believes the grief broke me. In a way, it did. Leo, or what wears his skin, stays in his room. The door is locked from the inside. He doesn't eat. He doesn't sleep. He just records. All day, all night, the faint whir of the machine is the only sign he's there. Sometimes, under the door, he slides me little gifts, cassette tapes. I'm supposed to listen. The recordings are of my life now. The sound of me sobbing in the kitchen, the frantic rhythm of my heart as I try to sleep, the hopeless scratch of this pen on paper. He's adding to his collection. And last night, a new tape appeared. On it, there's only one sound, perfectly clear. It's the sound of a key scratching at the inside of his locked bedroom door, trying to find the keyhole from the wrong side.